Hello and welcome to Building the Premier Accounting Firm. This is a show dedicated to individuals interested in starting and having the premier accounting, bookkeeping, and tax business in their area. In this discussion, we actually have various conversations. Each episode is focusing on principles such as marketing, selling, pricing, client onboarding, client relations, and so much more as to helping you run an effective accounting business. As such, we're helping you become confident and competent in the work that you're doing, and more importantly, getting paid what you're worth. I'm your host, Roger Knecht, president of Universal Accounting Center, and for more than 20 years, I've been working with accounting professionals to help them build thriving accounting businesses they can be proud of. And each time I have an episode, I try to bring on a guest, someone that you can enjoy and benefit from, and today is going to be no different. I'm happy to actually have on the show today someone that I'm sure you're going to enjoy. Her name is Aleya Harris. She happens to be an award-winning marketer and owner of Flourish Marketing, an agency dedicated to helping empire-building entrepreneurs reach their full potential, marketing and helping strategize through storyboarding their experiences. Now, one of the things that I want to emphasize here is while she works with entrepreneurs of all backgrounds and specialties, Aleya actually remains dedicated to her roots in the catering and events industry by cultivating a diverse community as the marketing chair for NACE and is the head of NACE Black Caucus. For her role, she is honored as the 2020 NACE Emerging Member of the Year, celebrating her commitment and dedication to the organization, along with the President's Award for Leadership in Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion for her work with NACE to develop an action plan for Black member support. So first of all, Aleya, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. It is a thrill to be here.
This is going to be so much fun. I really enjoy these types of conversations because when I work with a marketing professional, it's literally, I think, the backbone of the business. If you're not growing, if you're not building clients, then obviously you're dying. And so anytime I can have an expert on the show where we're talking about marketing strategies and things that we can be doing to get more business, I think this is exciting. So this is going to be quite fun because we're going to be talking about stories today, correct?
Yep. Sounds like a plan to me.
I love it. So one of the things that I ran across is storytelling, that basically a good story consists of specific characters, and those characters are very integral to the success of the person finding where they fit in to the story, how they actually can relate to the story. So I expect that we're going to get into that. But before we do, I understand that there are 5 elements that turn an average story into a powerful marketing tool. What would those 5 elements be?
Sure. So when we're talking about story, first of all, I always like to clarify this. People are like, well, you mean like the story of like my grandfather started this company back in 1922? That's not the story we're talking about.
Exactly. That's very true. Good point.
And then unfortunately, then they say, oh, I heard this girl Aleya on a podcast and she told me to write a story. And then you wonder why your website analytics have tanked. And then you blame me, and I don't want that to happen. We're talking about the marketing story, the brand story that you are telling. And actually, the roles and the characters are incredibly important. The first thing that you need to realize as an element of a story is that it's actually not really about you. There's lots of characters in the story, but you are not the hero of the story. You are the guide in the story. Mm-hmm. And if you think about it, the hero is actually the weakest character. So like in Harry Potter, for example, Harry was, don't tell him I said this, but he was a little bit of a lackluster magician, right? He always needed help and support and guidance from Dumbledore or Hermione or even Professor McGonagall for those Harry Potter heads out there. So he was constantly going through trials and tribulations to get to his victory. And you don't want to be in that position, right? When you're talking to your clients and you're like, we're doing this and we're doing that and we're striving to be the best and me, and us. One, they already have a hero in their story, and that hero is them. Two, You want to be positioned as the guide. It's much better to be Dumbledore than Harry.
Mm-hmm.
You have the knowledge and the expertise to make sure that the hero attains their victory, and then their victory also becomes your victory. So if you're looking at your social media posts and your website copy and you're realizing that there sure are a lot of I's and we's in there, not a lot of you's in there, that's kind of your first clue that you might be taking your marketing from the wrong perspective.
I love that. That's an excellent place to start this. So, first of all, you're 100% right. Sometimes when we're talking about storytelling, they think this is the About Us page where they're saying, we started in this year, and this is who organized the company, and this is their backstory. What we're looking for is the story that we can tell that allows the potential customer to see them as being part of the experience. And so what we're trying to do is, like with your example of Harry Potter, we're drawn to the character of Harry Potter because we can see in the beginnings of the story perhaps our current situation or our younger selves where we may have lacked confidence, or we may have lacked the means to do certain things, and all of a sudden through that identity, we're kind of drawn to that individual because we can relate at certain levels, and we're excited to go through this journey with them. And for us as the business to be the guide, we're the ones with the solutions, the answers. We're going to be the ones providing the direction and the insights throughout the story that they get to benefit from, and in the end be the hero now doing everything that they needed to, because they're going to do all the hard work.
Yeah, absolutely. They're going to do the hard work, and then the hard work needs to be positioned as worth it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's when another element of the story comes in, which is success. We lean into success when it's, we'll get you this ROI, right? Or we're going to make sure that your books are neat and clean and tidy, or you're not going to get in trouble with Uncle Sam. Like, all of those are elements of success, but we often forget that success is just bigger than the thing that's immediately in front of our face. How are you going to give them peace of mind? How are you going to help them focus on their area of genius, which most likely is not necessarily accounting? I know that for my accountants and bookkeeper and CFO, I let them do their thing because it is not my thing as a business owner. And then I can, tap in, but they're guiding me and my business to success. And my version of success is that all of the money is in the right place. We're ticking. We have a strategy to move forward. And now I can focus on content creation and overall business strategy. So when you're thinking about your role, it's actually quite a grand role. And you need to make sure that you fully own it and you allow them to see what the end picture truly looks like. Visualization and feeling words are often missing from professional industry websites and social media. It's like, just the facts, ma'am, is what it usually ends up being.
Uh-huh.
And unfortunately, that's not the full motivation for people to make purchasing decisions when they're deciding to work with a service provider. You need to paint a more visual, tangible image of what working with you will allow them to accomplish.
I love that. So what you're describing here is the journey. What we're trying to do is help the business owner, as they're considering our services, basically figure out where they fit in the journey that they're currently on, how we can influence or be part of that journey, and where's this ultimately taking them. And I liked how you explained that this isn't always about the features. It's not the work we're doing. It's the benefits they're receiving from the work or services we're providing. And I think this is really quite interesting because when you design your marketing this way, when you actually incorporate this storytelling into your sales process, the people all of a sudden start to see that they can be the hero, that with your help and guidance, they can actually achieve what their goals are, what they've been trying to accomplish all along, and literally become a better self. Oftentimes, the hero doesn't realize their full potential. And as the guide, you're helping them realize that there's so much more possible than what they initially thought was possible. And so when they look at accounting services, they may just be assuming we're going to be doing the financials, helping them with compliancy work, making sure the numbers balance. But it's so much more than that. We can help them make more informed business decisions. We can help them make better cash flow decisions. We can help them make timely decisions as to when to hire and when to buy certain equipment, the growth strategies that can be going on there. Just through the budgeting and forecasting, the business owner can have a more deliberate approach to running their business that's more than just having financial reports that are done for compliance purposes or tax filings done just to simply pay the taxes. There's tax strategies, so much going on here. So the thing that I like about this is let's look at a few stories. You brought up Harry Potter. Obviously, Harry's got the friends that are helping him. He's got the guides that he's experiencing along the way. But there's so many other stories. Give us some other examples so that maybe the listeners can identify with one that might work for them. You've got Wizard of Oz. You've got, let's say, Karate Kid. You've got Star Wars. Pick another favorite for me.
Well, Star Wars is kind of the quintessential example that often is used because the storytelling framework was originally codified by Joseph Campbell in his book, A Hero with a Thousand Faces.
Uh-huh.
And in that book, he articulated the monomyth that he found throughout culture, throughout time, throughout different races and religions across the world, where they always followed, these large stories always followed a certain pattern. George Lucas fell in love with that pattern in that book, and there were some steps in between that I'm going to skip over, and implemented it pretty much directly into Star Wars. So you start off in the ordinary world. You got a boy on a farm, which it's kind of like a joke in the screenwriting and storytelling arena that it's like, oh my gosh, can we start off a story with someone that's not a boy on a farm? Like Superman, boy on a farm. Like let's start something else without a boy on a farm. But that is how Star Wars starts. And then there's an inciting incident that makes Luke leave his farm and join, the story and launch out into, becoming a Jedi. And through that all, through the trials and tribulations and battling, the dark side, he ends up having a transformation within himself. He's guided by Obi-Wan and Yoda and all of that loveliness. And he ends up feeling that success, feeling that victory. And as he returns and moves on into different portions of the story, he takes with him the skills and the abilities that he's gained in order to integrate them into the larger sense of the greater good. That's a very typical story that people use when they're writing any movie and when they are writing good marketing, because people are wanting to be part of a story. You can have a large list of data and numbers and facts and figures, and that to a certain extent provides authority to you for your guide-ness. However, it's not memorable. It's not going to stick. And actually, while I'm saying the word stick, there is a great book that talks about how to make your ideas sticky. It's Made to Stick by Dan and Chip Heath.
Oh, good.
If you're wanting to fill up your Amazon cart, that's a good one. If you are making these sticky ideas using a storytelling format, the thing that you want to make sure you don't leave out is the actual problem, the inciting incident, the Darth Vader, they're building a Death Star again kind of situation. I always laugh when I watch Star Wars. At one point in time, my husband and I sat down and we watched all of them in order. And I know that there's arguments over what the correct order is, but we watched them in an order. I think it was the order of release, of chronological release. And it's funny because if you look, it tells literally the same story over and over and over and over again. They follow the same pattern in every single movie. And people say, oh, well, I want to be different. I want to be new. I want to be fresh. You can be new and fresh and different, but you'll most likely end up confusing your audience. So you need to start off with that problem, that inciting incident, which is most likely missing from your copy. Why are people listening to you in the first place? Why are you becoming, why should they become a Jedi? And then you articulate throughout the story, your copy, the rest of the story.
So what you're sharing there is, I think, very important for the listeners to understand. First of all, this isn't anything new. This is a tried and proven turnkey process of storytelling that gets a person interested in what you have to say. And from a marketing point of view, there's nothing better. When you're in marketing, you want to have something that compels people to want to listen and hear what you have to say. So let's consider this storytelling recipe. And this goes all the way back, like you were mentioning, back to like the Greeks with the tragedies, and it's Shakespearean in many ways. I mean, the storytelling just makes sense. We as Homo sapiens, as human beings, we get drawn to the same story outline. So the first part of it is, in our marketing, are we very specific as to who our audience is? Who do we want to tell this story to? And what we want to do is we want to begin with the end in mind. We want to be very clear on what it is we're trying to help them accomplish. And then you go to the beginning and you just try and tell a narrative that says, are you this type of person? Wouldn't you like to be this type of person? Isn't this the experience you'd like to have? And at the end of the day, this is where you're going to be. That's like a oversimplified version, but it definitely cuts to the chase on it all. So earlier I asked about 5 elements, and then we talked about the guide. I'm just kind of curious, is there a guide to developing your own profit-making brand message?
Absolutely. That's what my certification is in, actually. So Building a Story Brand by Donald Miller is the book that took what Joseph Campbell did and applied it to the marketing world. I bought the book on audio, was thinking I think I was driving from like LA to Anaheim. I was like, okay, let me just like pop this sucker in. And I was floored by how simple it was and how it gave such a compelling framework. I bought the book. I highlighted it so much I had to buy another book that wasn't all yellow. And in that framework, it talks you through the 7-step process of making a story. And it goes from what does your character want and what is the problem that gets in the way. And there are 3 types of problems: the external problem that you can see right in front of the face, the internal problem, which is how it makes them feel, and the philosophical problem, which is their fight between good and evil, right? That overarching, grander sense of a problem. And then you enter in as the guide who has empathy and authority to be able to lead them with a clear plan. That plan is usually a nice, clear 3-step plan that leads them to success and away from failure. And along the way, they are experiencing a transformation. They go from wide-eyed, timid, frustrated farm boy to Jedi master who has the power to protect the universe or galaxy, or whatever you want to say.
Yep.
So that type of framework is what, if you really look at good websites, that they use it to a T. You start off with, what is the thing that you want? Okay, then what are the problems that are getting you in the way of what you want? Here, this is how I help. Now follow step 1, 2, and 3. The first step should be schedule a call, get a quote, and it ends with your success. And then if you don't talk to me, if you don't use my accounting services, if you just feel like you can do the bookkeeping all on your own, which we all know is not a good idea, then this is what could happen.
Yeah.
And, these are all of the failure points that we're going to sprinkle in to help motivate you to schedule that call.
So what you added to this is obviously a call to action, a deliberate, if I'm seeing this and it's resonating with me, therefore what? What do I do next? And so that call to action is ultimately what they need to do to start this whole process with us. And so you've got this journey, you've identified, you've given them a potential of where they could be going, and now you're giving them an actionable item. So I'm curious, how and where do you infuse a customer-centric brand story into the marketing efforts, like into the social media that we might have, our websites, print media? How do you actually put it in there?
You rub it on there and hope for the best. No, it doesn't happen from osmosis. One of the things, let's take one channel at a time. So let's start with social media.
Good.
When most people first hear of a brand story, they're like, oh, okay, these posts are going to be 1,000 words long each. How the heck am I going to incorporate a brand story into every single post? And that's actually not what you would do. You would pick one element like the problem or the guide or the success or failure, and then implement them into one post at a time. So this might be a post where I'm highlighting the problem. This might be a post where I'm highlighting what success looks like and how you can visualize success. Testimonial points, our posts are great for that. Here, look what Susan and Bill have had to say about working with me, and let me put that in the actual post graphic as their quick testimonial. And then inside of the caption, I'm going to talk about what I did to, get them to that success point. Click the link in bio to schedule a call. So you're moving through that messaging, speaking about the top 3 to 5 things that are part of your messaging platform. So the storytelling device, the Storybrand framework, needs to be paired with what you actually need to say to get people to buy from you. So if you're an accounting firm and you're talking about skiing every other social media post, it's not going to be helpful for you. The retort I get from that often is, well, but the people want to know me, like me, and trust me. I'm like, yes, if you can somehow relate skiing to accounting, then you are in the money, right? And then they're getting it both, but they don't come to your pages and your feed to learn about your latest ski endeavors. They're coming to get tips and tricks about accounting and bookkeeping, and it's tax season. And what is that going to be? And what do I need to do to be forward thinking about, proactive financial planning and strategy? That's why they're going to come to you and how you position yourself as a helpful expert. So you pick those 3 to 5 topics that you want to be known for, and then layer on the Storybrand framework into those elements. So for social, it's kind of one at a time, right? And you're building, as opposed to a portfolio of thoughts, of random musings.
Mm-hmm.
You think of it as building your storybook, and each post is a new page, so that when someone consumes maybe 2 or 3 posts, they have an idea of who you are and what you offer. When you apply that framework to email, for example, and email list building is actually one of my favorite marketing tools, because it's where you truly own your audience, as opposed to Mark Zuckerberg loaning it to you for use. When you're building your email list, each email should have one controlling idea, kind of like Star Wars. It was like one main thing: good to triumph over evil. That's like the main controlling idea of Star Wars, right? That's actually the main controlling idea of also Harry Potter and most movies, right? Good to triumph over evil. So when you're thinking about writing an email, and you're like, oh, okay, let me have my team just pull together random clips and we're going to call it a newsletter, that's really not that effective. No one really wants to read a newsletter. What they want is a short bit that can help them immediately make a difference in their lives, something that is helpful, something that is relevant. So you construct each email that you can use as a full sales letter. You can use all of the elements of the Storybrand brand script. And throughout the different emails, you can also use a portion of it and highlight each one similarly to how you would do in social media.
So I'm going to try and break this down for our listeners, because I think this is powerful and it's something that can be very helpful in part of the marketing. And I'm going to kind of back up a little bit and bring us forward to where we are with the social media and the emails that you just mentioned. So in essence, what I'm hearing you explain is there's this story formula that we can use in our marketing to help communicate better to our potential customers who we are and the journey that they can go on with us. And what we want to do is we want to have them see them as the hero and us as the guide. And a good part of this exercise is what kind of guide do we see ourselves as? Who do we identify as? And picking that persona for ourselves is helpful. Are we Mr. Miyagi? Are we Obi-Wan Kenobi? Are we Dumbledore? Are we, say, the nice witch in Wizard of Oz? Are we just, who's our persona as we're going to be this guide? Now, as the guide, we're going to position ourselves as the expert. They need to see that we are this wealth of information and resource that we can actually help them. And so when you were talking about the posts, you were just showing good examples of little snippets that allow people to see that we are, in fact, experts. We're authorities in a certain space. We know what we're talking about. They can turn to us and trust us. In the emails, we get to go deeper because we have more copy that we can use. And in that positioning, we can educate and help them see how, through maybe testimonials or success stories, people have achieved this, how we've actually influenced others. But more importantly, what we're able to do is then, through either the posts or the emails, help connect with these heroines that we're trying to acquire as clients. Are they in a position where they have this challenge, this focus? And if these are their situations, they're going to then identify with us as being the guide they need to then talk to. And then all of a sudden we tie into all of this, the action items. And the action items are obviously that call to action of give us a call, fill out this form, reply to this email, go to this place, attend this webinar, attend this training. All of those things are the therefore what's, the action items the next. How am I doing so far? Is this coming together well? Is there something more you'd add to that?
No, you're doing great. You're doing great. One of the things that I do want to circle back on is you talked about caption length and email length. Yes, I mean, technically you could write a whole dissertation via email if you really wanted to, but I will say that shorter emails tend to do well. And that's one of the misconceptions that people have, when they're saying a story and they're thinking like, oh my gosh, I have to start with this once upon a time. It's going to be this long dragging out thing. You can have a story in a couple sentences, right? So just making sure that you're not falling so far into the story elements that you're losing the clarity that the elements are designed to provide you. So for example, like when I introduce myself, my introduction is a complete story in and of itself. Most entrepreneurs are great at their craft, but struggle to build out and scale a company without feeling burned out and lost. So that is the first part. And that talks about who I'm talking to, what their pain points are, and what problems that we solve. And then I say we create empowering education resources, strategic story brand sales funnels, and highly converting social media content and bioenergetic business coaching solutions to help empire builders flourish in business and life. So that's who we are, the guide. We're certified in those two things. And then what is the success? And that was 2 sentences and hits on almost every single one of the story elements. So I do want to just call that out before, like, Robert, you get your listeners saying, hey, what do you think of my email? And it's like 5 pages long.
Well, there's 2 things. One, and I 100% agree with you, the email etiquette is hugely important. And you're talking about the copy, the content of the email. I go all the way back to the subject line. It's got to be short and to the point, but catchy. And that's your sell thing. That determines whether or not they're even going to bother to read the email itself. And then you've got to become better at managing to whom you're sending the emails and whether or not you're copying people. The people that are copied, it's just FYI. The people that it's sent to are the ones that you're expecting an action from or a reply from. And so that's very important with the etiquette. But when you're talking about the actual email, we need to do exactly like you said, keep it to one singular topic. I would much rather have, and people will disagree with me, but I would much rather have 3 emails on each individual single topic than one email with 3 things within it, because I run the risk of that email being too long. I don't want to read it. I'll get to it later because it's too long. Or because there's 3 items in the email, I'll miss one of the things that I needed to do or know or see. And I overlooked it because it was just too much information. I would much rather have 3 concise emails and be done with it. And then when it comes to marketing, the thing that this was a huge thing, and I'm kind of curious what you think about this. In the emails, I'm old enough that I'm old school to where you write a paragraph and it's usually say 2, 3, 4 sentences. And in the subsequent paragraph, I'm going to, in that second paragraph, support the second sentence in the first paragraph. And in the third paragraph, I'm going to support the third paragraph or third sentence in the first paragraph. Well, it's very structured. It's how you wrote an English essay in school. But today, emails, it's not paragraphs, it's statements with line spacing. It's so that you're very to the point, very direct, and there's a lot of white space where before the paragraphs were very chunky and overwhelming, and people, when seeing that, wouldn't want to read it. But if it's just single sentences that are short and to the point, it's longer because it's a little lengthier, but so much more white copy. It's easier to read, and a lot of people will actually find them not daunting. How's this sounding to you?
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And I do want to make sure that we understand that there's different kinds of emails, right? There's different reasons for emailing. There's the kind of email that you have in like your Gmail or your Outlook, and you're emailing colleagues and clients. And you can definitely use storytelling there. But then there's also your main email list where you are sending out emails on a weekly basis to nurture relationships and build those lucrative relationships that turn into sales. And in those types of emails, and any type of email, you're absolutely right. White space is key. The point is not to I want to make sure we're not leading people astray. So yes, white space is key, and I have lots of white space in my email, and you are making statements, but I could totally see an analytical person taking that and running away with these like fact-based, like almost like bullet points. And that's not what we're saying.
No.
What we're saying is you can have an email that talks about, like, let's say we're talking about financial, forward-looking financial strategies. You can, and you're having some type of promo where you're going to, give an extra hour of consulting for free as a bonus if they book before a certain time. So if you have that, you would say, hey, we're coming up on 2022. How's 2021 been for you after the firestorm of 2020? Are you looking forward, or are you still staying stagnant and you can only see what's right in front of your face? Well, that will prevent you from growing and surpassing what happened in 2020, so that you can really make sure your future is brighter than your past. Here at XYZ company, we do ABC financial services that will allow you to future-proof your business financially and give you stronger peace of mind, while also providing you time back in your day to live within your zone of genius. To check out our packages, go here and click here to schedule a call, right? When we start working with you, we do step 1, 2, and 3. Again, click here to schedule a call, and we would love to work with you. P.S. Make sure you schedule before X date because we're going to give you an extra hour of consulting. That's a sales email that follows the storytelling framework. We started off with the problem. We ended up with talking about what we do, how you get there. I forgot to throw in that you have 10 years of experience, et cetera, and you've helped this customer and this testimonial. But that is what we're talking about when you're writing a sales letter, and you're having space in between those layers, but it doesn't need to be like, do we do this benefit, feature, buy? Because no one wants to read that either.
Well, the thing that you just did there is exactly what my listeners needed to hear, which was a very simple outline of what it is we're talking about, because they could easily rewind this and hear again the outline that you just provided, because that's exactly what they're looking for. What the white space is between each of those sections is nothing more than the breath. It's the opportunity for the reader to digest what it is that they just read before going on to the next thing. And in the storytelling, that's what we're trying to do, is make this flow. We're trying to make this inviting. So an easy way to kind of consider this and complement what you just shared is we want to talk to the essence of what the business owner is needing. And it's obviously addressing the issues of cash flow management, tax preparation, let's say. But what we're wanting them to hear from the services that we provide may be more specific to the needs they have, the benefits that they're hoping to achieve, which is not just cash flow management. They want money in the bank, not just tax preparation. They want tax planning to legally reduce reduce the tax liabilities that they may be facing, to avoid penalties, and more importantly, the tax payments that they're probably traditionally paying. You're able to do more of a tax strategy. The third thing is they're ultimately wanting to hear that you're going to be able to help them be profitable. If we can help the business owner hear that through the services that we provide, that they're going to be in a better cash position and have money in the bank, that they're going to limit their tax liability and be profitable, you've just had them hear what they're probably not hearing from many other accounting professionals. With the other accounting professionals, it's more compliance work. I give you the financials. You'll have the reports on a timely manner. But it's so much more than that. They're needing to know that the relationship we have with them is going to empower them to be better business owners and better leaders. Then they're interested in the services that we provide. That's what we're looking for. And the outline that you provided in the marketing structure allows us to tell that story. So that's beautiful. I kind of want to go a different direction with this right now.
Sure.
You've been working with business owners. You've had this conversation many a times with them. What's the hard part for a business owner to understand about storytelling and to incorporate into their business? What's one of the struggles you typically see?
It kind of depends on the person. The top ones that I see are that they are not wanting to articulate the feeling portion. They feel like it's too fluffy. Usually that's a person that has a hard time articulating their own feelings. And so they project that is what clients don't want to hear, that they don't want to talk about feelings, when actually that's most purchase decisions are emotional.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing that they have a hard time is shifting their focus away from themselves. They've worked so hard to get where they are, and they just want everybody to know about it. And I get it. I mean, I've been a marketer for over a decade. I got all the certifications, all the stuff. It's wonderful. But all of that is what just enables you to be a better guide. So they often have a hard time filtering their accolades into a paradigm that presents why would the end client care that you have this certification? What does that do for them? How does it make their life better, save them money, help them grow their business? Another element that I see, and this happens a lot for heart-centered businesses, is that they have a difficult time articulating the problem, because it's like happy, happy, joy, joy all the time. And they're like, well, but why would I articulate the problem? That feels too salesy. I have a spoiler alert for you. That's the whole point, is that you're trying to sell something on your website. Your website is not just someone coming over to join you for tea. It is a sales and marketing tool, and people understand that when they're on your website that they're entering into a transactional relationship. Now, do you want to talk about that as like a used car salesman? No, you don't want to sound like a used car salesman. But do you need to be able to stand in your guidance and realize that often clients don't even know the problem fully. They haven't been able to fully articulate it and shape the bounds of it before they come to you, and you can do them a service by articulating that problem back to them. Yes, that is what you want to do. And that is the beginning, again, of that relationship, and them listening to you to how you can solve that problem for them. So those would be the top three that I come across more often than not.
I love that. So what I took from that is, first of all, we need to be clear in being able to explain either the problem or the opportunity that the customer is experiencing, so that they can identify that their need can be met by the services we offer. And then we've got to do a great job of portraying the benefits that they receive from the relationship that we can have with them. And we can't be afraid of telling the problem or opportunity. We've got to be willing to have that call to action. And really what you're describing here is, again, what's needed in our marketing to help people be drawn to us and want to know more about our products and services, and ultimately pay us for what we do. Last question. What advice would you have to a business owner as they're considering the storytelling approach in their marketing?
That's a whole nother podcast episode in and of itself. The main advice that I would give is to not be uncomfortable following a framework. We often find that we want to get creative and say, oh, well, I don't like this, I'm going to pick and choose. And then we end up with a big old mess. So follow the framework and let it work and test to see if it works. You can even do A/B testing where some visitors end up on one version of your homepage and other visitors end up on another, and you can track your analytics in Google Analytics. Don't just take my word for it. Build it and then see what works for your business. Storytelling, however, works across industries. I have yet to meet a client that does not benefit from implementing a storytelling framework. So if you're sitting there thinking like, oh, this sounds super woo and gushy and soft, I'm an accountant, I do numbers, this is not what I want to do. If you're thinking that is you, then lean into your strengths, test it out, use the numbers, use the data that comes from the testing to inform your decisions.
Perfect. Great advice. I think what I'm taking from this is definitely just have fun. There's a fun approach to the marketing, and we can tell a beautiful story that can resonate with people. So here's what I'm going to do. Aleya, I'm going to go ahead and summarize what we've been talking about, and I'm going to come back to you for a final thought and see if we can wrap this up. But basically, in summary, I want to encourage everyone to go to the episode description. In the episode description, we're going to have some information there that I think you'll be interested in seeing. Specifically, what we're going to have is a link to a turnkey marketing plan, a turnkey business plan for accounting professionals. And this is important because in there, one of the things that we're talking about is specifically marketing accounting services, things that you can actually see complement what we've been discussing today. So go to the episode description and take advantage of the turnkey business plan for accounting professionals and see what it is you can be doing in your business to better market your services. Now, with that said, as a summary, I've loved this conversation. I've had this discussion with so many people as to, one, better connect the marketing with that potential client. We oftentimes struggle as to how to best communicate who we are and what we do. And the storytelling approach, it resonates. I mean, it's a multi-billion, if not trillion-dollar industry based on storytelling that we all pay for, we all enjoy, we all get a great deal of satisfaction from, whether we're reading books or watching movies. We're drawn to this type of information delivery. And if you can actually basically present your business in that format, these people that are your potential customers will be drawn to what it is you do. And Aleya, she actually did a great job of outlining what that would look like and how as accounting professionals we can incorporate this in our business, gave some great book recommendations that we could refer to if we would like to embrace this further and implement it in our own business. And lastly, it's the realization that this can be done with a call to action that literally can generate the leads we're looking for to grow our company. So great discussion. Loved having her on the show. Aleya, is there anything more you would like to add as a wrap up to this?
Just that, like you said, marketing should be fun. Try new things, see what works for your business, simplify your approach, and don't be afraid to add in some of your personality in there to touch on how people can relate to you when they are reading their story on your website.
Perfect. Well said. And this has been great. So here's what I'm going to do in wrapping this up is definitely encourage you to listen to our other episodes and obviously subscribe to this podcast. Each and every week we come out with excellent tips and tricks that you can apply in your business to in fact build the premier accounting firm. Why? Because if it's about accounting, it is universal. So for more information on how you can apply these principles in your business, please visit us at universalaccountingschool.com or give us a phone call at 801-265-3777. And always remember this, if it's about accounting, it is universal. Take care and have a great day.